Welcome back to the Oklahoma Drill. It is what season is it? Season 7. I looked this up. Season 7 of the Oklahoma Drill. We have recorded some ungodly number of episodes. It's over 200, I think.
Wow.
And we're back. We're just back here with you guys to talk about the thing that brought us all together in the first place. OU football.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, do you like the audio situation for this? I'm not saying we have elite audio now, but we used to just shout at an iPad.
Yeah, it
was sitting between us. So we've upgraded a little bit now. We
it's
at least do it
so
like
radically different. Yeah. I actually used an editing magic on our last episode. So if you noticed our responses to each other were a little snappier, astute listener, that was editing magic.
Pristine sound.
Yeah. Wow. So OU football.
Right.
Here's my conceit for OU football this year. Feels like it's going to be kind of boring.
Yeah.
Now,
I think how much of that is the fact that you live in Arizona now?
No, that's definitely part of it. Like, I will not see a single one of these games live. I will not encounter another person who cares about this sport at any point. But it still just feels like, at this point, it's like, yeah, we're probably going to win the Big 12. If we don't make the playoff, it's because something stupid happened and it'll make me mad. Like, so the joy of it,
third time,
I am feeling like an ennui set in. It's like OU football stagnation. And so that's why I brought you two here, is to cure me of that. I need you to remind me of the joie de vivre that exists at the heart of this sport. I need you guys to tell me what there is to be caring about. We're going to go position group by position group, and we're going to talk about stories, narrative. This is the joy of life. This is how we see ourselves. This is how we understand others, is through stories. So this is very important, and I need you guys to take this seriously.
Okay. Can I start, but with a overall kind of narrative for the whole team, I guess? So you're talking about how there's been a bit of a stagnation and how, we're probably going to win the Big 12. And I think, to me, the story overall of this year is that, honestly, this is the first season that I can remember that we're going into that I think we have a chance to actually compete at the highest level, right? We've had teams where, 2017, as the season progressed and we saw that, oh shit, Alabama's not as good as they usually are. Clemson's not as good as they usually are. That team was good enough to win it by the end of the year. But going into that season, we thought we were going to get our asses handed to us in Columbus, right? I don't think anyone's going to beat us like that, like Ohio State did in 2016 this year. You know what I mean? So that, to me, is that we have finally reached a threshold, in my opinion, hopefully, that this team can go toe-to-toe with anybody, even if it is a really good Alabama team or a really good Clemson team. So that's kind of how I start out, and that is why I'm in the complete opposite from Ryan here, and that I am extremely excited. I'm not bored at all by the idea of this football season.
And I think the reason there is that level of confidence is because it's an actual team. It's on paper, it's well-rounded. It's not a half team, which is what that 2017 team was. It was the best offense in football, and then just an abomination on the other side of the ball that you hoped could give you a couple stops a game enough to win. So that's really the thing that makes me most excited is, we have a team that should have a very good offense that has, the Heisman favorite, presumed, preseason number 1 pick in the draft, Oh, and by the way, our defense is way better. They were top 30 last year. They returned pretty much everybody outside of a couple starters. They have incredible depth at all three levels, except maybe safety. And then, you know, they should continue. It's year 3 of the system. They should continue to get better. So, and then you mentioned 2017. Alabama wasn't as good as they've been in the past. Clemson wasn't as good as in the past. If you look around nationally, that's a lot how it is this year, at least, you know, on paper. Most of the big major contenders that OU will be vying for the top spot against have new quarterbacks this year. That's not as important as it used to be, but it's still pretty damn important. So Clemson's bringing in Uiagalelei, I can't even say his name. Ohio State's breaking in probably CJ Stroud, Bryce Young at Alabama, all very talented guys, but first year starters. So we've seen how that went last year with Rattler. It usually takes a little while to get used to the game. So it's just really exciting. And I agree. I think this is a team that on paper finally can stack up and, has a real shot. And then there aren't Death Star teams out there that there have been maybe the last couple of years that they'll have to be run into a buzzsaw in the playoff games. They might be able to really hold their own.
Okay. So just given these narratives, I'm already sort of in an interesting place, I think. And I'm interested to see where else I can be taken on this journey. Because I think I'm starting to realize that this boredom, this ennui I'm feeling, I think it's a cover. I think that what I actually am is afraid.
Yeah.
Valid.
Right.
Because ready to be heard again.
If this is the year, then things better go right.
Right.
And that's a frightening prospect.
Sure. Well, and I think one of the things with that, and I've been in that same boat for a long time because, it is always scary to mark years as like, oh shit, this is the year. I remember 2014 was supposed to be a year for us. We were coming off the Sugar Bowl, and then 2014 turned into one of the worst seasons we've had. You know what I mean? So 2021 is the year we've had marked for probably since 2018, 2019 as like a real chance. And one of the things that has calmed me down a bit in this regard is that we are recruiting better than we have to build. Like, we're recruiting better for future teams than we did to build this team in which we have a legit chance with, we think. Yep. Right. And as we go, we talked about in our last football pod where we were talking about going to the SEC, like, yes, the road to get to where we need to go is going to be a lot harder, but the talent that we're going to have to get there is going to be a lot better as we move to the SEC. And so it kind of has been one of those things where obviously I want this year to be a breakthrough for us. I think we really need to win a playoff game, but it's not the end of the road for Lincoln Riley as OU's football coach. If for whatever reason we wind up losing the first round of the playoffs again, you know what I mean? So to me, that is one of those things where I'm more excited than I am scared. Of course, I'm scared of losing to Texas. I live in Austin now. It would suck a lot for us to lose to Texas. Of course, I'm scared to lose to some inferior Big 12 opponent, but I do think that, it doesn't have to be like this just crazy year where if it's now or never. I don't think that's the case. I think that the trajectory that we are on is going to lead to more years like this, hopefully more consistently, to where it's not like you can count, 3 or 4 years into the future where that's your year. Hopefully it's more like an every other year thing.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of what I was thinking. I think this was the year that we've been building to, that we've reached a plane of being able to truly contend at that level. But now that we've ascended to that plane, assuming it doesn't go back down, it should be more often, because we reached a certain talent level, we've reached a certain ability level on both sides of the ball, and then it just becomes 2023. Okay, now we have Caleb Williams in his second year. and we have even more talent on defense, and we have these other things. Okay, 2025, it's like you said, it's almost an every other year maybe sort of thing. I don't know if we'll ever be a every year thing. It might be, I don't know. But I think we've reached a level, and this is kind of the first year that I feel comfortable enough saying, yes, I think we can go toe to toe with Alabama for 4 quarters in a non-Sugar Bowl, like meaningful game. And then, and I think the way we're identifying talent and recruiting talent currently, and with the coaches we currently have on staff, they'll stay at that level, and they can continue doing this much more frequently, because before this, it was really 2008. That was the last time that we were truly at an elite level, and from a national perspective. So, and you mentioned in 2017, we had a shot that I don't think that's a recipe that you think can be replicated very often. And there very rarely is a team that is that one-sided going to be able to win a championship. But I think this team is built better for longer. It's built with more, it's more sturdy in how it can be supported.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've settled on the grand narrative of this season. And it, like I said, I find it kind of frightening. It's exciting, but
could do with Skip Bayless tweeting less. That would be nice.
This is a great example of what I mean when I say that. Like, This is frightening, because the thing about that Skip tweet, which is apart from like the absurd, like, I'm Skip Bayless confidence of it, I agreed with him. Like, when he says that Spencer Rattler is probably going to win the Heisman, it's like, that is currently the smart thing to say. Like, I do think that Bill O'Brien is not as good a play caller as either Steve Sarkisian or Lincoln Riley. Like, I do like,
that was a weird hire to me. That's completely tangential to the, but I still kind of shake my head at that one, because he doesn't even run what they were really running. So I don't know. But
this is one of those weird, like, we need Skip Bayless to be right about something, and
right. This is the thing, is I'm agreeing with Skip Bayless, and it's terrifying.
Just be less confident about it.
I guess what I would say is that maybe this is an example of, it seems like narratives shift a lot slower in college football than they do in other sports. And so Skip Bayless saying that is like this, it's like a cutting edge take, I guess, that he's trying to have.
But he's an Oklahoma fan, so he's already biased.
True. But, it's something that's going to rile people up, because the average, not the average OU fan, but the average college football fan, the last time they cared about an OU football game, OU lost like 63-20 or 28, or whatever the score was of that game.
It was a lot to a little.
Yeah. And so the fact that is what those people that he's trying to rile up last saw, so maybe this is one of those examples of Skip can actually be right just by being with the current times, rather than where most college football fans are a year or two behind it from a narrative standpoint.
Narrative shift is important, because, and not to continue pushing further down the position, discussions, but do you all remember what Clemsoning was?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
We haven't heard about Clemsoning in 6 years. Narrative shifts are important, because once you get over that hump, once you can put to bed that kind of stuff, we can stop hearing about playoff losses every time they mention OU on a national level, if they finally win a playoff game, and certainly if they win a national title. So if they can get over that hump, then everything with the SEC will be what it is. But just being talked about in a confident way, and not being talked about with the OU version of Clemsoning, that's important from just the way the casual person perceives the football program.
Right. Absolutely. Do we want to go ahead and talk about position groups?
Yeah,
sure.
And I'm just gonna sort of take this vaguely by how the Sooner Sports roster is listed out here. With the except that it's actually listed out terribly, so I'm not going to do that. But we're going to start with the secondary.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Going backwards.
I also just want to talk about the fact that the OU roster page is like ruined now. It's like they changed it and it sucks.
Really?
I'm really mad that it's not just a list. Like there's like drop down menus for each player.
I think there's a list view that you can get to.
Yeah.
I believe I am on list view.
Are there? Are you? Okay. Well, let's talk about secondary here. So in regards to the secondary, I think the narrative or whatever the storyline that I'm looking at going into this year is that there are very few old guard guys left. We had Buki transfer out. We had Trey Brown actually go pro. So we're kind of into this world where a lot of the guys that we're going to see play this year were recruited by the current staff. And there's still some holdovers. I mean, you've got Delarian Turner-Yell and Pat Fields at safety. We'll see how that goes. Jaden Davis is going to be in rotation at corner. So there's still about 3 guys left. But overall, I think you'll see a lot more size in the secondary. Woody Washington had a really good year last year. He finally, honestly, just a little bit of a tangent on Woody Washington. I was fairly shocked by how good Woody Washington was at corner last year. Because I remember going in when he came to OU, I thought he was going to wind up being a safety, to be honest.
Well, and he played safety last year. They moved him from inside to out. It almost never goes that way. It's almost always outside in. So
yeah, and he was great. He did a lot of really nice things for us. Teams really favored throwing to the Trey Brown side. They had a lot more success throwing to his side than they did throwing to basically a freshman, in Woody Washington. So he's going to be a year older. DJ Graham's probably the most freaking talented corner we've had since at least Aaron Colvin. That dude is pretty ridiculously talented. And, that's one of those really good evaluations by the coaching staff where he was a 3-star wide receiver come out of high school, and they made him a defensive back, and he's probably going to be a top 3 round pick in the NFL in a couple years. He's super talented. Safety is probably the biggest question mark, maybe the biggest question mark on the whole team. But as we say that, we are returning our 2 starters on the back end of the defense at safety, Pat Fields and Delarian Turner-Yell. There's no reason to suspect that they're going to be worse than they have been. I know that they haven't been superstar players, and I know we've complained about Pat Fields particularly quite a bit. But, they're still going to be, going into their 3rd full year of starting experience, right? And I think for the first time, we're going to have guys that are going to be able to spell them. I think Keyshawn Lawrence, transfer from Tennessee, he looks exactly like you want a safety to look like. I think he's 6'2", 215 pounds right now. He looks like a freaking safety at OU. Maybe Bryson Washington comes on. Maybe even if it's just Key Lawrence, if you rotate 3 safeties at 2 spots, you're still getting guys a fair amount of rest, and that's not something we've had the luxury of doing. But yeah, I'm fairly excited by the direction of where this secondary is right now. And the last time we saw them play football was, not necessarily a super meaningful game, but in the spring game, I thought they looked pretty damn good. They were. The windows that our quarterbacks were trying to throw into in that spring game were much, much smaller than the windows we've grown accustomed to.
Yeah. To me, the question, if you're looking for a narrative of the secondary, to me, it's, are your safeties good enough to win a title? I think I feel pretty good about corner, frankly, and which is weird because corner has less experience than safety does, but I think the talent's higher end. As you mentioned Woody Washington. I'm very much on the DJ Graham fan club bandwagon. I think there's a lot of depth there. I think we have, good, talented young players like Justin Harrington, Latrell McCutcheon, Josh Eaton, Jaden Davis has played a lot. There's a lot of names there. Safety's more up in the air, and we from the last 2 years, we've seen Grinch is more reticent to rotate there. And some of that's just available people, but also I think he just places a lot of value on dependability there and is willing to sacrifice playmaking for it. And so the question I have is, can Pat Fields and Delarrin Turner-Yell win you a title? I think Turner-Yell, yes. I feel fairly confident that he is good enough to win a title with. I don't know about Pat Fields. I think he's the most susceptible to losing a spot. But I think that's the thing to watch throughout the season is how does safety play hold up? And whenever you start playing the more talented teams on your schedule, which strangely enough is like Iowa State, how does Iowa State hold up? And then kind of with the safety mold, what does nickel look like this year? Buki's gone. Is Cradell? They've talked up Cradell a lot, Jeremiah Cradell. Is he really as good as they've been kind of hyping him up to be? Can Billy Bowman steal his job? That's another thing to watch. I'm curious to see how nickel shakes out. I think they're going to probably rotate those two a lot and just kind of let it sort itself out on the field. So that's really what I'll be watching.
Okay. I think that's compelling for the secondary.
Okay, can I say one last thing real quick? I do think Fields is the concern, right? He's also like a huge leader of the defense. I don't think that there will be a situation where he loses his starting position, but I do think that by the end of the season, he's going to be getting less than 50% of the snaps at his spot.
He's going to be rotating a lot.
Yeah, I think it'll be a situation where Fields, if anything, becomes the third safety, and Key Lawrence will be that guy because the reviews on him are super good, and he seems like also kind of a leadership type guy. He seems to have a really good personality. So I think that that's a likely change that can hopefully fix this issue that we kind of came up with,
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So watch Pat Fields and Key Lawrence. That's our take on the secondary. That's where it's going to be interesting. And nickel, obviously.
Right. Yeah, Billy Bowman might be the Buki he might be the good Buki, right? Like the guy
the good Buki coming to TNT.
Do you remember how freaking excited we were about Buki?
I remember. Yeah, I remember saying he's going to be a captain by his junior year and stay at the show. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Dude, Ryan and I were reckless on some pods.
We were like, this guy, this is what a 5-star does to your program.
Right. Exactly. I remember those exact words happening. Yep. Man, we missed that one, but so did Kerry Cooks.
I was going to say, in your defense, the way they were talking about him that summer, I mean, you had no other take to.
Right.
You had to say that because that's how they talked about him. So
yeah,
I mean, we watched him in the Army All-American game where he got an interception
on Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, no, we
were just like he went up and he took it.
Right. Yeah.
This was amazing to us at the
time. He's prime honey badger. Apparently that's what we were going with back then, but
it was a good play.
It was a great play.
Like, he is so capable of being involved on the football field. This is why he is going to be the nickel of the future.
Right. Right. Man, we missed that one. Linebacker. Nathan, what's the narrative at linebacker, Nathan?
For inside backer, to me, it's how the hell are they going to get all these guys on the field? They have like 6 inside linebackers, like that can actually play. So how are they going to rotate? To me, that's honestly the question.
Imagine that sentence 3 years ago.
Yeah, for real. I think if you're an OU fan, what you want to happen is you want David Ugwoegbu and Brian Asamoah as your starters by the end of the season. I don't know if it's going to start that way. No offense to Deshaun White. I think they talked about him having like an incredible spring and everything. And I think he's got a lot of trust with the coaches. He's very dependable. But I think from a talent standpoint, you're hoping for Ugwoegbu and Asamoah to separate themselves. But frankly, from a unit standpoint, is how the hell do you get all these guys on the field? You have, let's list them off. You have David Ugwoegbu, Brian Asamoah, Deshaun White, Caleb Kelly, Shane Witter, and then you have Danny Stutzman that's come in. That's getting just talked about. They're just gushing about Danny Stutzman. Jamal Morris plays some, especially on special teams. That's 7. They could truly be rotating 5 to 6 guys at 2 spots.
One of the names that did not come up in that list is Brian Mead, right? Like that was a guy that in 2019, Kenneth Murray missed like 2 plays in the national championship game, and Brian freaking was our 3rd linebacker to go on the field. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's not on the roster. He's still here somehow.
For some reason.
Still here. And he's like number 7 now or 8. He's not going to play. So really incredible stuff from Brian Odom because, Danny Stutzman and Shane Witter, those guys were 3-star guys. And they both, like in 2022, 2023, they're going to be like starter type players. So it's really cool to see that development. And Caleb Kelly, that was a guy that when he was a freshman and sophomore was like a future savior of the defense type guy, and now he might be our 5th linebacker. I hope he isn't. I hope he gets to play a little bit more than that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's number 5.
I will say that this is the thing about Caleb Kelly that I think this is to me story, like a feel good story on, I guess, in the linebacking core, is I just really hope we get to see Caleb Kelly play and he doesn't get hurt again. Like I really hope that. Speaking of another former 5-star guy whom we were just like, you can see the difference, right?
That was like one of the few things that we came out of 2016 and 2017 saying about that defense was that, Caleb Kelly is a 5-star talent, right? And he's had a rocky career. He's played for some shitty coaches. And
the man played for Bob Stoops. That's how old he is.
He's one of the few guys on the roster that played for Bob Stoops. So.
Yeah.
God, I remember when he committed. God.
Yeah, me too.
I think he was a signing day guy.
Yeah, he was.
He
was us at Notre Dame.
Yeah, back in the day, like a real signing day, not like the early signing day.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah, man, he is old.
Yeah,
which makes us very old. So
extremely, because we were already in college when that happened.
Absolutely.
The other thing about Caleb Kelly, the other thing about Caleb Kelly is, like Nathan said, like he doesn't really have knees anymore, so that's obviously a challenge. But he's also an adult, like
he is.
So if he has like function, like if he still has like functional mobility, like you can't discount the degree to which he is an adult. He will be just pummeling teenagers. Like
he still looks the part, like physically, he looks good. He's just, I don't know how fast he is still, but I mean, he looks the part.
But is he 24 now?
24, 23, youngest. This is year 6 for him. So I mean, and we're talking about these guys, and Nathan is 100% right. We want David Ugwoegbu and Brian Asamoah to start.
Yeah,
those 2 guys are going to be the best playmakers of the group. They might not be the most solid football players. I think guys like Kelly and Deshaun White might be the most like assignment sound guys of the group. Yeah. But when it comes to like making plays on a football field, and when it comes to just, if you look at who's out there, who do you want to see just from a physical standpoint?
They're the most athletic.
David Ugwoegbu is physically more impressive than Kenneth Murray, right? Who was a freak of nature. You know what I mean? So David Ugwoegbu is unbelievable. And the things that he showed last year in his first year of ever playing middle linebacker, like he's a different kind of guy. Like,
and I thought that move, like I did not take it seriously whenever
I didn't either. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was a really dumb move because, hey, we didn't know how good Nick Benito was.
True.
And even if we did, we didn't know that we were going to have depth at that position. But, hey, that's why you trust good coaches. I'm not saying you trust every coach, but you trust good coaches like Brian Odom and Alex Grinch. Like those guys know what the fuck they're doing, and they might have gotten us another All-American middle linebacker. One thing I will say, though, about this position is I don't think it's the end of the world if Asamoah and Aguebu don't. Like if, let's say Deshaun White really turned a corner and he's going to play up to his potential all the time. And Caleb Kelly still has the speed and he's just as solid as can be as an adult playing linebacker. And maybe those two guys are the guys, the starters that, will rotate obviously. But it'd be really great to have Aguebu and Asamoah back next year. That'd be really great.
Wouldn't suck. I mean, with the COVID year, White could come back theoretically.
So. Yeah, theoretically, right. But if we could go into 2022 and have Aguebu and Asamoah as like the guys at linebacker, I'd be feeling pretty damn then.
Yeah.
So, I guess if you're an OU fan, root for Deshaun White and Caleb Kelly to just be like too good for Asamoah and Aguebu to beat them out. D-line.
Quick, I guess, like the recap on linebackers is it's just lots of guys.
How do you play them all?
And it's old guys and young guys, and we'll see what happens there. But the defensive line, I just want to start. Can we just take a moment of silence for Perion Winfrey? Just give him the respect he deserves. I think just the photos of him from this summer, I am ready to believe that he's the next Tommy Harris.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you sure that the fear you feel towards the season is not just because you've seen pictures of Perion Winfrey?
His eyes, in every photo, he finds the camera and stares at it with death in his eyes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, my God. No, Perion Winfrey looks really good. He's not the only one. So let's get into it.
So, I think the OU coaches, I think Alex Grinch is expecting rotate 14 guys across 3 positions, which just hilarious to think about because, that 2017 team we talked about where we actually did have a legit chance to win a national title. What was it, like 6 or 7?
DJ Ward was
6 or 7 across that group?
Maybe. Yeah, it wasn't good.
Obo had to play every snap and he almost died against Texas.
That's what I always think of in that season defensively. Not even the Georgia game. I think of Obo just lying on the field flat because he was so exhausted.
Right. Yeah. And as that season went, Obo was a great player. Obo would be fantastic in this defense. But as that season went along, Obo got significantly less effective because he was just getting run into the ground.
Yeah.
People are not built to play as much as he did.
Yeah, you shouldn't be playing 100 snaps.
No. And this defense, these guys are going to be our best players. Perion Winfrey, Nick Benito, they're going to be able to play 40 snaps a game. Mm-hmm. And they're going to go balls to the wall while they're out there. And that's going to be a problem. You're not going to have to worry about motor problems for most of these guys. If you do see a guy with motor problems, then that's a big problem for that guy because they're not giving 100% effort. It's not because they're tired, right? And so, with Perion Winfrey, one of the big things with him last year was consistency and finishing plays. He would get in great positions and he wasn't finishing the plays. I think he's going to take that next step. One of the things that really impressed me with Winfrey is that when it came time to, we last year, you always go through postseason, you go through the few weeks where it's shit, is this guy going to go pro or is this guy going to come back? And just the fact that Winfrey had enough awareness to not be a guy that really considered going pro that heavily, he seemed to be pretty solid in coming back for most of that process. That to me showed an awareness of where he is as a player and what he needs to get better at. Mm-hmm. And everything we've heard from anyone that will say anything is that he's focused and ready to do that because Perion Winfrey is fucking crazy. He is a crazy it's not just the eyes. It's just not just the looks that he's he looks crazy. He is actually that guy. He is a guy that on recruiting trips got arrested for jumping on the hoods of cars.
Yeah.
He does weird shit. He's fucking weird and he's crazy and he's awesome.
Yeah.
But
you can follow him on TikTok at Pigo Crazy.
Exactly. Right.
I didn't know that.
all of that said, This guy is the guy they're talking about being fully focused and ready to go for this season. I think he's going to have a really monster season, and it's not just him. You know, we're going to play 8 guys in the interior of the defensive line. You know, let's list them out for everyone, shall we? At nose guard, looking at Perion Winfrey, Jordan Kelly, Isaiah Coe, Corey Roberson. Okay, all 4 of those guys. Isaiah Coe, highly touted JUCO guy. He's the least proven of the group. Jordan Kelly and Corey Roberson both played a lot last year, and they have a lot of ability. At the other spot, defensive tackle, Jalen Redmond, who we'll talk more about in a minute. LaRon Stokes, former Big 12 Newcomer of the Year, who, by the way, Ryan, have you seen pictures of LaRon Stokes recently?
I have. He's a large man.
He has gotten so much bigger. It's insane. Like, that dude literally in the Peach Bowl was playing outside defensive end. And now he looks like a freaking defensive tackle. It's awesome. You know, so we've got Jalen Redmond, LaRon Stokes, Joshua Ellison had a great season last year. Also a guy that, if you look at him, has changed his body physically, right?
Had a great spring too.
Great spring. Everything about Joshua Ellison has been really positive. And then we'll throw in another guy, Kelvin Gilliam, who's a true freshman, who was probably the most impressive looking freshman defensive lineman we've had since I don't know.
I don't even know. It's been a while.
For you. I don't have a name for you. Maybe Gerald McCoy. Who knows? But so he's a guy that, you know, he's going to be like he's probably not going to play a lot, but he's capable of playing because he is so physically impressive. He's the kind of guy that in 2017, if he had come in looking like this, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's going to start. Now he's 4th string, you know? So unbelievable job by Calvin Thibodeau to recruit all these guys. Jamar Cain, obviously, as well. On the outside, Nick Benito he's like a preseason All-American, you know?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I think the last preseason All-American we had was it Tony Jefferson in like 2012 or something? I
didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost been 10 years since we had a preseason All-American on defense. Wow. Behind him, Marcus Stripling moved over from defensive end to be a rush linebacker. And Clayton Smith, that guy, 5-star recruit. You know, I think he's the kind of guy that probably won't play a ton this year, but in like 2 years, he's going to make us forget about Nick Benito. Okay. Like, ridiculous talent, absolutely ridiculous talent. And then on the other end, Isaiah Thomas might be our best defensive lineman. He legitimately might be, you know, and he's not talked about all that much. And behind him, Reggie Grimes might be the most talented defensive lineman we have. And we're just now mentioning, dude looks like a freaking monster out there. And then behind, you know, Ethan Downs is apparently having a great season or a great, you know, camp as a true freshman. He's probably going to be the 3rd stringer at that position. There's guys we haven't mentioned, right?
So there's a ton of names. Ridiculous. And to me, the overriding question or theme of this unit is, I think if OU wins a national title, this is, along with Rattler, this is the unit that will be the most important in getting them there. As far as just excellence, I don't know if they're the X factor unit, but I think they're the unit that can push them that way. Just because they have waves of guys and they have a lot, and it's not just bodies, it's quality bodies. And I think they're top 4. I don't know all of the defensive lines in the country, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find one that's better or than that 4. I think it's excellent. And what I really find exciting about this group is there are a lot of teams that can generate pass rush from the edges. A lot of our pass rush is going to be from the middle, and that is really hard to defend against if you have pass rush up the middle. I've bought wholesale, or I'm fully on the Perion Winfrey bandwagon. I was last year. I think whenever he said he was coming back, he'd be a 1st rounder. I still believe that. I think he's tailor-made for what Grinch wants to do at that spot. And I think he's poised for just an absolutely huge year. I'm just extremely excited to see what this group does. And I think that's the that's the sell. That's how you sell people on them. Is this is the group that can elevate the OU defense to, nationally, respected and, top 15 levels, and can help them win number 8.
And this also, is a unit that, I think, everything you said is spot on, in that they're going to be a ceiling raiser, right? As the defensive line goes, the ceiling goes for Oklahoma. But I also really like the impact that they should have on the floor for OU. Every year for the past fucking 10 years, we've had one inexplicable loss, one loss that we should just not have against an inferior opponent. If you have a defensive line that's fucking killing the other team up front for the entire game because you have 14 guys that you're throwing at them, you're not going to lose to some shit ass team like Kansas State.
Yeah.
And Iowa State, their offensive line's nothing special.
They're fine.
I don't give a fuck about their 5-star hearts. Like, they're a bunch of Iowa guys, right? So if our defensive line takes the step that we think they are, and they have the depth that we have, there's no team in the Big 12 that's going to be able to handle it. Like, it's just not going to be good for anybody. I'm not saying every game is going to be like last year against Kansas, because that was like dangerous.
They almost killed a guy.
That was actually dangerous. But we're going to be putting pressure on quarterbacks. We're going to be stopping the run. And if you dominate the line of scrimmage as consistently as I think this group is going to, you're not going to have those really stupid losses.
One other thing I like about them is there's a lot of leadership in that unit. I think Isaiah Thomas is probably going to be a captain. They talked about Thibodeau talked about Winfrey being a guy that really, pushes those around him. And Lincoln actually said today he's like one of the most beloved members of the team, which was kind of cool. I didn't know that. So, I think there's a lot of leadership ability in that group. And I really think they're going to lead, from the front forward. But you can say that about that's the weird thing. We're starting with the defense. And in a way, I feel more confident about the defense than I do the offense, just because so much of it is more proven. But there's just there's a lot of leadership, a lot of guys that I feel are confident or have proven to be, to have those qualities. So I'm really excited. It's been a while since I've gone into a season like confident in the defense. It's probably, honestly, it's like when Brent was here. So I'm excited.
Before we leave the defensive line, since I know Alex mentioned him and said we were going to talk about him, and then we haven't talked about him yet.
No.
Passing. I do have to just do the Jalen Redmond meme. Just a quick reminder of the Jalen Redmond timeline. In 2016, he was a basketball player. In 2017, he was being recruited as like a rush linebacker. It's 2021 now, and he weighs 280 pounds.
Yeah, he's a defensive tackle, and with him, I think the biggest deal with Jalen Redmond is that he hasn't been a storyline this offseason for the first time ever. He's just a guy, a normal guy on the team. There's been no health concerns so far, and no weird stories about him. Oh, he's actually 340 pounds. He's way out of shape. Like, no, he seems to have like really locked in and gotten into shape. And, I mentioned Reggie Grimes might be the most talented guy. Jalen Redmond also in that conversation. Like, that guy, just from an athleticism standpoint, he's not the prototype from a height standpoint at that defensive tackle spot. But this is a guy that 2 years ago, brand new to that position, led the team in sacks on a team that got a fair amount of sacks. It wasn't like there was, it wasn't like a Kenneth Mann situation where he led the team in sacks with like 4. This was Jalen Redmond being a consistent problem. In that Baylor game in 2019, that dude was a massive problem for Baylor to block. They had no answers for him. And so if this is a guy that 2 years later is finally fully healthy, he's battled injuries his entire career. He's finally fully healthy and in shape. Like, he's an NFL player. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. He's probably not like a first-round pick or anything because of his size and his injury concerns, but he's a guy that's going to probably leave after this year and get drafted. if he has the kind of season that he should have. And so I am pumped to see he can truly be a game changer for this defense. And the fact, like, if you just look at where he is lined up defensively, he's going to be between Nick Benito and Perrion Winfrey.
Yeah.
Both of those guys might be guys that are getting double teamed. And if he's going up against single coverage and blocking, again, in the Big 12 is not a strong offensive line conference. It just is not. He's going to murder guys, and he's going to get in the backfield and murder more guys. So yeah. I'm very excited.
All right. So we got the Jalen Redmond talk out of the way. Just really excited to have him back. Made probably a smart decision last year to sit out because of COVID. I mean, we saw how great the line was even without him last year. And a lot of those guys are back. And now he's here. And now there's more guys. It's an embarrassment of riches on the defensive line, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we should talk about the offense now.
Yeah.
Let's start at the line.
Okay.
Which, coming into this, is weird for me because this is a position that I feel like should be fine, and yet is maybe the position I'm most concerned about. Maybe the unit where I'm like, well, let's make sure that we have this figured out about.
Yeah.
I think we're going to learn a lot about Bill this year because in the last 2 years have not been – it's been really interesting to listen to him talk because last year he was actually really high on what the group could be and what they were doing. And then they just were – it was probably the worst offensive line we'd had. So, we're going to learn a lot about whether or not Bill's job this year. Very confident. He threw out the year 28 in terms of, last time he was this confident. So, which is wild because
Lincoln said something like that at Media Days also.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Like, I mean, we did not get that from what's pretty high on the group. Like, this is a weird group because young, like we lost Creed Humphrey. We lost, so, we have experience in several positions, but we're going to be breaking in a new center. Everything that we've heard, everything Bill B alluded to, it's going to be, I think he's going to be really freaking good at that. So I think Creed Humphrey was Edenbo's like guy at that position. I think that next guy.
He's undoubtedly he loves Him.
He has everything you want from an offensive lineman. And honestly, I think that there's a situation where if last year hadn't been so weird and there had been more opportunities, like Ray might have found his way onto the field last year if it hadn't been so. I've become pretty confident about him as the center. He's got the size, he's got the smarts, he's got everything. So Marquise Hayes, we need him to play better than he did last year. Everything has been good on him. One says he's doing what he's supposed to. Anton Harrison was a guy that played last year as a true freshman. Everyone's talking about how he had one of the best summers they've ever seen an offensive lineman have. So that seems really great as well. So that's your left tackle, left guard, and center pretty much locked up already. Now, I have no fucking idea what the right side of this offensive line is. Bill Bedenbaugh's super confident. I am less so.
Yeah, it could be a combination of things. It could be, Tyrese Robinson was the starter at right guard last year, but does he kick out to right tackle? Do they start Chris Murray at right guard? Does Eric Swinson, the Sooner fans, favorite person to, blame everything on? Does he start at right tackle? Does Wanye Morris switch from left tackle to right tackle at some point? There are options. We don't know which one's going to take hold. I think if they were to play, just from what I've read and what I've heard, if they were to play this week, I think Tyrese would be the right tackle. But I don't know if that's going to be the case in 2 weeks. I think if you're an OU fan, what you hope happens by the end of the year is that Wanye Morris has somehow found his way into that other tackle spot. I don't know if it's going to start that way. I don't even know if it's going to be that by Texas, but I think that's what you're hoping for because the long term, because he's your most talented other tackle besides Anton Harrison. So I think this is one that's going to be a little bit of a work in progress. But if you remember 2016 through 2018, those lines were never truly settled until about Texas anyway. 26. Do you guys remember the offensive line that we started against Houston in 2016?
I do. I remember every single.
That offensive line had Alex Dalton starting at right guard.
Drew Samia
Had
was a tackle.
Drew Samia as right tackle.
Jonathan
Had Jonathan Alvarez. So, I mean,
weird group.
Jonathan Alvarez started over Creed. People seem to forget that Jonathan Alvarez started over Creed for like 4 or 5 games in 2018. Yeah. There was a battle between him and Eric Wren in 2017. Eric Wren didn't really take hold of that job until, into the season. So the point is, it doesn't have to be ironed out the very first week. It almost certainly won't be. It's just, can they continue getting better throughout the season, and can they land on their most talented best 5 guys that can handle the elite edge rushers that they're going to see in the playoff if they make it that far.
Right.
That's what has to happen. And I mentioned that I think the defensive line is the unit that can be over the overwhelming, excellent unit to put them over the top. I think, I said I don't think they're the X factor. I think the offensive line is the X factor of the team. I think the offensive line can either play as it has been the last 2 years and just be good enough to maybe make it to the playoff, or it can revert or ascend back to the 2016 through 2018 levels and be good enough to win the thing. I think that's it's your variable there. So
let's just say this: if this offensive line is as good as 2018's offensive line, we're going to win every Big Ten 12 game by about 45 points.
Even if it's 2016 offensive line, I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
So,
and then we're going to win the national. If this offensive line is as good as 20, we're going to win.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as good as 2018, but I would take 2016. I would be happy.
God, both of you knock on some wood. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Accepted.
So I do want to, since this is really the first, have true question marks and we don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Nathan, what do you predict is going to happen? Not what do you want to happen. We talked about Wanya Morris starting there. What do you think will happen, barring injury?
For the first game or by the end of the year?
End of the season. Playoff?
It's really hard because I don't know much about Wanya. If I were to guess, I think Tyrese starts at right tackle at the end of the year, and it's Chris Murray, Tyrese. I think that's my best guess, but I can definitely see if they're struggling that Bill starts getting creative and Wanya somehow finds his way out there. So I could see that happening.
I think it's going to be Tyrese as well, because I think Tyrese is going to tackle.
Yeah, he's athletic enough to do it. So
he's athletic enough.
I think he could be a poor man's Isaiah Wynn. So
yeah, his problem so far in his career has been more on the physical side. He's been a dumbass line.
Yeah, the thing I like hearing about the 2 interior guys, well, Hayes and Robinson, is they both are pretty upfront about last year. They just weren't in good enough shape, which understandable. COVID. They didn't get spring. They didn't really get a real summer. So, I think the most likely scenario, what I was going to say is they both have addressed that, and it said that they're in the best shape they've been in and they're taking it seriously. So I think that's positive. And I think the most likely scenario, if I had to guess, was that Robinson will start at right tackle and Chris Murray will start at right guard, which I thought Murray looked pretty good at guard last year in his limited, availability. So
he's a talented guy. I mean, he's a guy that has plenty of starting experience in Division
Yeah.
One. He's a good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Tyrese Robinson. I think we're going to be nervous as fuck going into the playoff.
Yeah.
The elite of the elite defensive rushers. And I think Tyrese Robinson has an opportunity to shut us all up. I really do. I think he could be really good at this and just make us all look wrong.
Well, I hope he does.
Yeah, I do too. And guess what? He's going up against Isaiah Thomas and Nick Benito in practice. So he's going up against really good players. So it's not like past offensive lines that were honing their skills against Dylan Famatal and
oh my God. I haven't thought about him in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
Receivers.
Ryan.
Yeah, I guess we'll go to H-backs and receivers. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
So
what's the narrative
what
here?
for H backs? There's only 3 of them, so please God stay healthy.
Right.
So I think the narrative is, can Stogner get back, become healthy and himself again, and be 85% of what Mark Andrews was, be an all Big 12 tight end. Can Stogner take that step? I'm sure it happens every now and then, but I can't think of a time where like a strep infection took hold of someone's football injury. I'm sure it has happened, but that is a very rare thing.
It's really
So
scary.
yeah. And he lost like 30 pounds or whatever. So
weird that Jeremiah Howell's still on this football team. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's weird. But
Bullfrog.
happy to have him here.
And he's like the leader,
He's going to be a captain probably.
Yeah. No, it's really cool.
Braden Willis looks like a damn dude.
Oh my God.
So I think he's poised for a big year because he's going to get to play a lot.
Finally getting.
Mhm.
What I'll say with Austin Stogner is that he was always going to have to do things differently than Mark Andrews because he's just not that kind of athlete. Andrews was a wide receiver in high school and he converted to tight end, just a higher level of athleticism. But with Stogner, that he did not do a good job of this last year, is he's got to do better in contested catch. You know what I mean? That's how he becomes 85% because he's just not going to do it from a route running and an athleticism.
He needs to realize how big he is.
This, by the way, was going to be my cynical question to pose to this broader position group is, are they going to catch the damn ball this year?
What was it, 9 touchdowns? Quite a lot that they dropped.
I mean, Stogner probably had the most important job of the season when he dropped that 3rd down against Texas. You know what I mean? Luckily, we still won.
Which is a good play call, all of you at home that were bitching about it.
Absolutely, it was. He just dropped it. So Stogner has to play better. He has to be more physical. He's got to just step up and make contested catches. I'm not worried. I think Jeremiah Hall is going to be great. He's always been super effective. Braden Willis, just stay healthy, and he's a great blocker. He's a pretty good receiver. Like I feel good about those. It's Stogner that's got to make the step and hopefully.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, at wide receiver, last year, as Ryan alluded, they definitely had problems catching the football. But how they might top to bottom be the most talent position group on the whole, just from a pure get the freaking stars next to their name. And I know that's not the end all be all.
Well, just look at them running around the field. Have you seen the pictures? They all look incredible.
Yeah.
Certainly somebody can actually play. So, I think the narrative here is, it's a pretty basic one, but can they live up to their billing? Can they, match what their expectations are? I think Marvin Mims is the obvious guy that is probably your star. But I think Jaden Hazelwood, Theo Weiss will probably be your other 2 starters, and they're extremely talented, both of them. Theo Weiss has gotten a lot stronger because he had an injury in the spring, so let him work on his upper body. You can tell. Hazelwood, is he back from his knee injury? Does he trust it? Is he playing 100%, speed? It's, early reports out of camp seem to be pretty good on that. So we'll just have to see. You never really know till you see him. But I think that's the thing. And I think Mike Woods, he looks great physically coming out of Arkansas. He's very productive in the SEC on a really shitty team. And people like to say, oh, he is their number 2 receiver. Well, their number 1 receiver is going to be a first rounder. So Treylon Burks is like a dude. So let's not get too critical about that. And Mario Williams, everyone's just gushing about Mario Williams. So there's a lot of talent in that room. I feel pretty confident that it'll shake out okay and they'll get back to form.
Yeah, to me, it comes down to Jaden Hazelwood. That guy is the most talented. His high school film was absurdly. He's the kind of guy we've talked about before. He should be the kind of do-it-all type receiver where great as a possession guy. You can throw him a bubble screen if you need to when he's strong enough.
Very physical runner. Kind of runs like a running back.
Yeah, has a running back lower body. He can go up and get it down the field if you need him to. He can go up and get it in the red zone. That's the kind of guy that he was in high school. That's the kind of guy he's supposed to.
And they had a peg to do that last year. The staff, supposedly was expecting him to be their guy last year, and then he tore his ACL. So
right. So if he is that guy, this offense is going to be really hard to stop.
Yeah,
really, like truly, because Marvin Mims I'm not worried even remotely about Marvin Mims. And one of the things I do like about Marvin Mims is that he does seem to be like a pretty low maintenance guy. Like he's not your typical receiver personality, which
that's probably true.
That dude was the most productive high school receiver ever.
Stanford.
Quite literally. Yeah. And so the fact that his mentality going into this season is that I'm going to run my routes, and if I get the ball, great. If I don't, I know someone else really. And they're playing him in the slot, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Playing him in the slot, he's going to be the best slot receiver we've had since Sterling Shepard.
Which is not saying a lot because just go through our slot receivers, right. Nick Basquin and Miles Tees, and but still,
it's been the walk show at the slot receiver. And those guys,
Drake Stoops is there to lend the call. So,
Right. Not enough Drake Stoops talk so far, I would say.
I would say
this is the guy. He won the Red River game last year.
I was going to say he's the Texas
really
hero.
Understand. Seems to me like this is his position group, and he's going to be a captain.
Too much Drake talk with that.
He's going to return punts too. So.
Kill me now if that happened. The guy that I'm probably the most interested to see out of this entire group is Mike Woods, because he is a bona fide deep threat. Like that's what he did at Arkansas.
Yeah,
averaged like 20 yards a catch. He can be that guy that takes the top off the. Theo Weiss is not that guy. Marvin Mims.
I think
Hazelwood can be at times.
I think in our perfect world, Theo Weiss becomes Uber Geno Lewis.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
That's what I want. That's what I want from him. I want him to be our possession receiver of all possession receivers. So,
well, the problem with that is that he was the one doing all the damn dropping of the ball last year.
Well, catching the ball is hard, so he's going to fix that.
I know. I have faith in Theo that he's able to catch the ball. God knows he did that for
he dropped
a really astonishing number of times in high school. So
really. Yeah, I think I just think there's so much talent, and they have a quarterback that's extremely accurate. I'm buying on talent. It's why I'm high. We'll get to this later, but it's why I'm high on Georgia this year. I just believe in talent. So I think in the end, talent wins out. So
we're so freaking deep. We're talented, and the thing about it is we're basically talking about two guys at each of those spots. Across the board. So that's 6 really reliable players. And then behind them we've got 4-star guys that are just waiting their turn, right?
And Trey West.
And Trayvon West.
The prodigal son is back.
Yeah. So. Thank God he's back. He dropped a pass in the Sugar Bowl too.
I don't even remember that.
So we have the talent to have the season that we, and what I'll say is if our receivers play up to our potential, and I'll keep going back to this. If the offensive line plays at 2018 levels, this is going to be the best offense we've had at OU. I'm dead serious that. Combined with we're going to win every Big 12 game by 55 points. The number keeps going up as we get to position groups. If they reach that potential,
we'll be 70 by the end of this.
Oh yeah. Oh, it will, because we're getting to our two best. So.
Yeah. Right. All right. Let's get to the mercenaries, the backs. The running back room is really weird because I think it's very different than I think we would have said it would be 2 years ago.
It's very different than we would have said it would have been 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Right.
We had a lot of turnover. So.
Yeah. What a weird offseason. And it was all running back kept getting hit. So I think that, and I had a question. I was gonna pose this question to you guys because we just saw Ramondre Stevenson, the pros, go for 91 yards. Which was great. Ramondre Stevenson, his last game at OU was incredible. Torched Florida. He was great last year. So my question is Could Ramondre Stevenson going to the NFL wind up being a net positive for this offense? Because I think Eric Gray is a better fit in this offense, potentially, than Ramondre Stevenson.
I think they would have been a really good complement to each other. So,
but we probably don't get Eric Gray if Ramondre. That's
I don't know.
That's
a good point.
That's the assumption I'm going for.
See, the way I think about it is, I think of if Kennedy had not opted out last year, we would have Ramondre this year, and Kennedy would be gone. So would we still get Eric Gray in that scenario? And then we'd have Eric Gray and Ramondre.
Basically, I'm just saying pick between Ramondre and Eric Gray. And I know that we know more about Ramondre and it's easier to say, but I think there is a potential scenario that this turns
I love Eric Gray.
Positive. Yeah.
And if some people recall, whenever he was initially in the transfer portal, I was very on board with it. And there were some reporters that were questioning why we would take him that have since changed their tune. So
it's just
he was Tennessee's best player. So he's a good player. And I think he's a really good fit. As you said, he can split out wide. He runs really hard. He's kind of he makes really good cuts. I think he's a good fit. I think, God, I wish he could have played with Ramondre because I think it would have been a great fit, tandem. But, I think Kennedy's the guy that like fans tend to underrate because he's just so steady. He's had 2,000 yard seasons. He's a good player. So, I'm excited to have Kennedy back. Just, damn it, could have had Ramondre. But
right. Yeah, no,
I think, go ahead.
Well, to me, Kennedy is just like there's been a take that like he can't get it done against defenses, and there might be something there, but I don't think so because in 2018 if you go back and watch that Alabama game, which I don't know why you would. Let's just say that I don't know why you would rewatch the 2018 Alabama.
There's a bit where Creed pissed off their defensive tackle. That was funny.
That was
really completely meaningless to the sport of winning football. Yeah.
God, what was his name? The kid that plays for the Jets.
Oh,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
But
I mean, if Wayne Gallman can win it out, like it's good enough, Kennedy's good enough. So
my point is, like Kennedy made some great runs in that. That was one of the best teams in the country. So Kennedy Brooks is good enough. I think with Eric Gray is that he's more explosive than Ramondre. He's a much better receiver. You can split him out wide. He did that in his limited time. He pantsed Jordan Mukes in the open.
Well, it wasn't quite fair, but
no, sure.
Poor freshman. But
I think that Eric Gray could have a massive season, and I think it's going to be a situation where they're both going to play a ton, and I think people are going to be like calling for Eric Gray to be in the game. It's going to be like a DeMarco Murray, Chris Brown situation. Or Brooks is better than Chris Brown, and Eric Gray's not as good as DeMarco. But it's
I can see that.
Kind of like that, where people were just kind of just begging for more Eric Gray.
Yeah. So what you're saying is don't let Eric Gray return kicks.
Correct.
That's what I'm hearing.
Of course not. No. That's Billy Bowman's job or Mario Williams' job. And so I think we're going to be awesome this year. This is the best 1-2 punch we've had at running back since
2016.
Rodney and Joe. Yeah. Because 2017 was a weird, we wound up getting Rodney, but there wasn't really a Sermon and
Rodney and Sermon at the end was pretty good, but it was more like
they never
Rodney.
It was not really them going off at the same time. Like,
it was basically Rodney and then Sermon would close out the game.
Yeah, and Sermon started the year better, but Rodney closed it better. 2018, it was basically the Kennedy Brooks. Sermon played some, and he was good.
Yeah. I think he was almost 1,000. I don't remember how many yards he had. It was a good amount.
That was a good tandem, but I think this is going to be a better one. I really do. And also, side note, how the fuck did Trey Sermon get as good as he? That motherfucker. What the fuck was that? That dude.
Well, if it was like he just went off for like 3 games. He had that like crazy game against Northwestern, and then he just kind of took off. Like he wasn't that good until then. He wasn't even really starting, I don't think, until then. So
Unbelievable shit, man. Like that guy, and then he just destroyed Clemson.
yeah.
Yeah.
What a
Then he got his shoulder destroyed the very first play of
yeah.
national title, which sucked. But
Yeah.
Ohio State could have won that game. I'm just kidding.
if Trey Sermon, yeah, it's like Colt McCoy, except not.
Not at all.
So the other thing about Eric Gray is that he's gonna wear 0, and that's just fucking sick. Like that rules.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's another thing, because 0 is like a really sexy number, and 26 is like a super not sexy number. So it's just gonna like play into that even more. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
people are gonna love Eric Gray, and they're gonna hate Kennedy Brooks.
Yeah.
Here.
Like a running back wearing 0, that's second to only like defensive lineman single digit number, I
Yeah.
think.
Like Perion Winfrey wearing number 8.
Mhm.
Do you remember Lewis Nix for Notre Dame? He had the 1.
Yeah,
That was so cool.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
It made him look small to scout. Okay. So let's
Now,
get
Well, I was just going to say the narrative on this group to me is a lot like H-back is there aren't that many of them. Can they stay healthy? Because we don't know.
Up the 2 behind him.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. We
We
can
still
talk
have,
about
like-
the rest of them.
Well, they brought in Trey Bradford, and it's like I think he'll be good. He's fast. He's got pretty good size. He's a transfer from LSU. They should have recruited him out of high school, but they didn't. But now they have him anyway. Marcus Major, we don't know if he's going to be eligible. So we might only have 3 running backs. Hopefully we have 4. So TBD on that one. But top 2, I feel pretty good about. After that, it gets a little dicey. So we might have a Jeremiah Hall is playing running back game, much like we had Dimitri Flowers against Iowa State.
Mhm.
And
God, it
Ryan-
was
Ryan
so much
Love-
simpler when the H-back we could fall to in that situation was Mikey Henderson. God, it was so much. Life was so much simpler when Mikey Henderson was on this goddamn football team.
when he wasn't
Yeah.
a robber.
Yeah.
That was
He was the getaway driver, wasn't he?
yeah. Probably.
Anyway.
So
Uh,
yeah, in Trey Bradford, I do really like him. I agree. I wanted us to recruit him out of high. But I'll say with him, man, that guy looks nothing like I thought he would. Like that dude was skinny.
Yeah, he has filled out.
Fucking,
Tends to happen when you go to Louisiana, is you put on weight. So
that dude did some fucking steroids down there. Like, that's incredible. God, more people need to do that if that's what you're going to look like after you. Quarterback position.
can he win the Heisman? That's the question.
That can
Is he Heisman good? That's the question. So
Oklahoma Drill has been of the opinion that Spencer Rattler is fucking awesome as a sophomore.
Yeah.
This is a big year for us.
are you proven correct?
Are we right? Were we right? And I think we will be proven correct. I think Spencer Rattler, if you look back at what the situation with him last year was, he had an underachieving offense. He had an underachieving
Stone hand wide receivers.
wide receiver. He had the most reliable position group he had was also the most hurt position in the H-back and the running back.
Yeah.
Lost Kennedy Brooks, Ramondre Steve suspended for half.
Mhm.
Like, it's not surprising that there were struggles last year.
Every single game he'd have like just a gorgeous pass that was dropped.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like ripped my heart out.
And the thing is, like we talked about the struggles last year. It's pretty good last year. Won the conference, embarrassed Florida, like just an embarrassment of arm talent.
Wasn't first team all Big 12.
Yeah.
Which he wasn't even second team, was he? It wasn't Sam's second team.
I think so. Which was just
An honorable mention.
He was born to
Which
do
is
it.
Just
And I'm not saying that Rattler's going to be as good as Baker or Kyler. Those two are all-time greats.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think he
He's
needs
gonna be
to. I don't think he needs to be though. Like
What I am saying, though, is that Spencer Rattler, as a passer, is more talented than both of those guys. And there's not really anything Baker did that Spencer Rattler can't do better than him. He's not going to be Kyler with the wheels. Like, that's just you're never going to see.
to me, it's like Baker leadership kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
off field
Right. Well, it's a matter of
stuff.
like he is capable of doing everything Baker did and so much more. It's about doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I think he can. He's I mean, legitimately one of the best people ever at throwing a football very far. He's just it's astonishing. There's a reason he's the Heisman favorite.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
Well, I was just going to say, as far as like narratives that aren't Rattler, I'm really, me personally, I am curious to see if they have packages for Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like a fun, thing to look for fans is how do they get him involved? Do they have Rattler come limp off the field as if he hurt his knee, and then Caleb runs for 9 yards, all of Kyler Murray?
It's going to be really, because there is a scenario like, maybe, we are super thin at running back. Maybe that's a situation where in short yard situations, you find
Caleb Dozer.
Go with the Caleb Dozer and running back some wear and tear. You get Caleb Williams onto the field. He's probably going to be.
No, is he going to be our Emory Jones?
No,
hope not.
I'll do that. That one. But yeah, no, there could be like Caleb Williams could have like 10 rushing touchdowns in a package. Really, it's a lot of it's probably going to depend on how we run the ball normally. Like if we're effective in that way. While to get going in short yardage situation. I think
ideally he doesn't do it. Like we're not reliant on it. It's just like a thing that we do.
Yeah. And it's a thing that costs on average, like half a timeout a game of just, oops, Caleb Williams on the field. Forgot. Got to call a timeout because their defense isn't ready.
What'd be really cool is if they have like them both out there. And then teams are just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll always remember a drive in the first half of the Rose Bowl where they got to the end zone and just like toyed with Kirby Smart, just destroyed Kirby Smart's world with like 3 like consecutive times, and then ultimately it leads to Baker catching a touchdown.
Right.
Like just like, oh wait, Baker and Kyler are both in the field. Timeout.
That's about the highest high I've had in a football game, and then it got pretty quickly down to the lowest low.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about literally anything else that happened in that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is the most talented quarterback room in the country. I feel comfortable saying.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. I would say so because it's the most. It has a proven guy included in it.
Yeah, it has experience and it has a guy that's going to be awesome and
you
know what I mean.
And that guy's name is Karsten Gruss.
I'm really excited to see the steps that Rattler makes this year. And I really do think it, like, if the offensive line plays 2016 level and the receivers play just normal, like we're not even talking best case scenario there. We're talking like median outcome. Like that's a fucking great offense that Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, well, they'll be top 5 if just that happens.
They were like number 3 last
year? I don't think I think they're closer to 10. Yeah. But there's that still. That's like still really damn good. Yeah. Like for almost every team, that's incredible. And then for us, it's like, it's a down year. We're 10th in the country in offense. So, like,
no, I think that this could be the best offense in the country again this year.
Yeah, I agree.
After a couple of years of just being like
the Jalen year, I think we were second. Behind LSU, which was just LSU. Out of this world. And then last year, I think we were like eighth, between 8 and 10, somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact number, but the point is, if they get better at those 2 spots, they're just basically to just get better. Like you would expect them to get better. They'll be top 5 to top 1.
Well, one of the things I really like about this podcast that we've done tonight is that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about what ifs in terms of bad scenarios. And the reason I know that there's a place for that and there's value there, but so many of those bad scenarios are just like, I just feel like they're too negative because like the idea.
What happened? what if Spencer breaks his leg? Well, shit.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a bad thing. So
Rattler doesn't take that step, which why would that even be a consideration? Honestly, players generally get better from year to year.
Also, frankly, he took that step last year. Like,
we watched him in real time do it. So,
and then what are the actual odds of this receiver core not playing better than? Pretty fucking low.
Yeah.
Same with the offensive line.
It's just, I think a lot of people are they've seen this movie several times and they're hesitant to truly buy in. And I get it. I don't have us as the number one team going into the season. But I have us as a top 4 team, and I think we can contend with the other teams, and that's all I'm really asking for. So
I understand that there is uncertainty, but if you actually evaluate that uncertainty, there's more likelihood that it's going to come good. You know what I mean? Otherwise we wouldn't be so excited about this year. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so much hype surrounding this. If it was like, man, it's a coin flip if this receiver core does. Then
or if it was like a bunch of guys that you're not, like, oh, they're starting some dudes that they're okay, but I'm not really. There's talent's not sure if the talent's quite there. Talent's there, just can they play it at that level? So
talent's there, and you know what? The depth is there for the most part across the entire roster. We're talking about offensive line. There's still depth there. We don't know.
I think they'll rotate 8.
Yeah, we don't know how it's going to work itself out, but there's depth. There's depth at receiver. The one spot, or I guess 2 spots, running back and H-back. You can't really sustain something significant there to more than one guy. Like if one guy gets hurt at one of those positions, we'll survive. But if 2 gets hurt, we're in trouble.
Then it gets dicey. Yeah.
But, that's
the same with pretty much every school. So
every team has a position group that if they get 2 injuries at it, they might.
Even Alabama has that somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
I mean, think about Alabama like 2 years ago whenever they kept losing inside linebackers and then their defense wasn't that good.
Right.
So
so that's why you should be excited about this team, Ryan. Have we convinced you to be excited about?
Yeah, it's still really scary because
we didn't even mention Gabe Burkich. So
I mean, the thing about it is like, when you look at it, it's like, this should be the best team in the country. Like, this should be the best OU team
since 2003.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe the second best OU team of my life. Like, that's terrifying. I don't know.
It's a whole other pod, but
right.
We can rank them.
Yeah, 2003, 2008.
I mean, 2001 and all, but I was
right.
7,
well, but I don't know. That game sucked. The national championship against Florida State. If you go back and watch it,
it's not that fun.
No.
The best game of that year is the Nebraska one and the A&M one.
The A&M game is the best year.
Yeah, the A&M game is probably the best game. The K-State Big 12 title is actually pretty good too, but A&M is the best game because it has the most exciting ending. But anyway.
No, that 2000 team, I was not emotionally prepared as a 7-year-old to game.
Yeah.
My dad had made me stop watching because I was just like a fucking emotional wreck.
Yeah, see, I watched it, but I didn't truly get into it till I was older. So I was like, oh, this is cool, and then I was done.
Yeah.
So
I remember my dad made me go outside and play in the backyard during the Texas A&M game.
That's awesome. I remember whenever we lost to OSU in 2001, I sprained my wrist on the swing set in a similar situation because my dad didn't want me in the room because I was too agitated. So
no, just was not emotional, mature enough.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen to me this year. It's going to be a particularly weird year for me living on and going to freaking see how that. I'm going to talk so much shit though.
You should.
If we're as good as I think we are, I'm great.
Well, what about who's their guy?
Sarkisian?
No, their quarterback.
Hudson Card or Casey Thompson?
Casey Thompson. Everyone's so convinced Casey Thompson was going to come bring it to us because he was.
It's true. We don't even know if he's going to start. That's like the thing. It's like everyone's like, "Oh, Casey Thompson hype." It's like we don't even know if he's going to start. Like, why? Why are we hyping him up? I mean, I'm trying to think. Texas might have like two guys that would start for OU right now. Bijan and maybe one of their safeties, like Caden Stearns, maybe. Like,
I thought he left.
oh, did he? Okay, so Bijan. They got Bijan. Yeah. So I was just trying to think of who they have that would even start for OU.
I don't know. Maybe
Caden Stearns is on the Broncos, just to confirm.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Bijan.
Do they have any offensive tackles? I don't know.
I don't know. I think last year their offensive line sucked, and that was with their left tackle that left for the draft. So
with Cosme gone, they probably don't have any offensive line.
Maybe Cosme was secretly bad, and he fooled the NFL and Texas fooled the NFL into drafting him.
That's
it. Let's do playoff picks. Just because. Honestly, we're probably not going to pod that because we're all in grad school.
Sometimes
there's not enough time, and I'm going to be doing a lot of other podding high on the list of priorities. So, just so we can all go back and listen to how wrong we were at the end of the year.
No, we're gonna nail it.
Oh, I am so ready to be so wrong about this. I got a dumb one. I'm really excited about how dumb it is.
Let's have Nathan go first. I think he'll be the most measured in this.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have any dumb ones. Mine's like real. So I'm not gonna go in order, but I think Clemson's gonna make it because I don't think the ACC is gonna put up any resistance. And I believe in Uiagalelei, so I think he's gonna be good. Picking Ohio State because while I don't know anything about CJ Stroud outside of him being highly recruited, I really like their receivers and I really like their offensive line, and I think their defense will be better. And I'm taking Oklahoma, as we just talked about. And then I'm taking Georgia out of the SEC. And I'm not taking Alabama, and that's my hot take is I'm not picking Alabama. So
who wins the playoff game?
Well, I don't know who's playing who, but let's see. I'll go OU Georgia, and to not be a homer, I'll pick Georgia, but also because I think Georgia is the most talented team in the country this year. And that's why I'm picking them, but I don't feel good about it. So got that.
You should be removed.
That's okay.
This might be your last.
It's not my pod anyway. I'm just a guest. So
this might be your last guest. Yeah, this might be the last time. That's ridiculous.
All right. Well, see you. It's been a good time.
All right. I'll go. Ryan, do you want to go or?
You should go because mine's dumber than yours.
Okay, great.
Arizona State.
I'm going to go with OU. I think OU is going to go undefeated. Clemson, I think they're going to go undefeated. Great. I think they beat Georgia first in game one. I'm going to go with Georgia and Ohio State. I'm going to go with the same four as you.
Okay. Just different winners.
Yeah. OU is going to kick the shit out of Georgia in the first round. So
you just said Clemson would. Okay.
No, Clemson's going to beat them in the first game.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so Clemson will be the 1 seed. OU
gotcha.
Georgia 3, Ohio State 4. Okay. OU, they actually finished the job that they did for the first half last night.
Oh, it'll be glorious if that happens.
Yeah. So. And then I think Ohio State is going to beat Clemson in the first.
Whoa, okay.
Ohio State's going to be really good this year. Like they've been. It's honestly kind of crazy that they haven't won a national championship as good as they've been the last 2 years. Like it's just because there's been 2 Death Stars the last 2 years that have been ridiculous. But like they're so freaking talented. They're more talented. So that's
I would agree.
They'll get good enough quarterback play, and they're so fun.
Okay, tangent. Why the hell did Chris Olave come back? Why? He was going to be a first rounder.
Makes no
Why? We can't even get our 7th rounders to stay. Why did he come back?
No clue.
Anyway.
And then I think OU wins in the national championship. And I'll put a score on it. 48-24.
Whoa. If that happens, I'll get a...
We're fucking
Oh, man.
How many
DVD box set.
How many times did I say that we were going to win every Big 12 game by like 55 points? You know, if you do that shit, you're going to fuck up Ohio State.
Well, we're going to be the best team of all time then. Apparently, you heard it here first.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I just want to preface this by saying this will not happen. But
It's always good to start a prediction with that.
Oklahoma, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oregon.
Oh,
Fuck yeah.
he's a Jack Cohn believer.
I would love this so much.
Jack Cohn carries Notre Dame through its weird half-ass pseudo ACC schedule. They beat Navy and whatever, and they're just undeniable. Oregon just doesn't fuck up all year.
Jack Cohn and Anthony Brown.
Yeah. And
Playoff
then
quarterbacks.
I just love the conferences that are represented in this. The big
well, this is the great thing, and this is the infuriating thing, is that when OU waltzes to a national title in this scenario, it will be decried as fake because they didn't have to beat an SEC team to get there.
I'm okay with that. I am okay with that.
Sure less. Let's fucking get it. So Ryan and I actually deserve to be on the pod because we picked
Well-
OU to actually.
Well, it's your damn pot.
My goodness. Yeah.
You gotta keep the sponsors somehow.
Full disclosure, when I made that score prediction, I meant to say 41. I don't know why I said 48. That was a total accident.
Confidence.
21-24. Okay. But
Okay.
You're already walking it back, I see.
Can't believe Eric Gray heard that, and he's going to score that extra touchdown to spite you.
that
It's
was
gonna be the garbage time touchdown.
absolutely fantastic. Eric
No.
Gray,
No, that touchdown is going to be Tanner Schaefer throwing to Drake Stoops.
I welcome it.
my least favorite touchdown of the season is the last one. That'd be great. Would love it. Yeah, I'm just gonna go into this season. I'm optimistic, and I'm just gonna try and not be scared. I think we have what it takes this year.
Mhm. I mean,
To win it all, right?
looking at it, I mean, if you look at it realistically, what games really scare you? I mean, Iowa State is the only one that even gives you much pause.
Doesn't scare me at all.
Yeah, so
Zero fear. Texas is the only game
just because of talent.
just weird shit happens.
Yeah,
just weird shit, and they're talented. Texas.
Yeah.
People.
but they're not as talented as say they were.
No.
All of the 2000s. Comparatively. So
They're
I
not.
mean, we were just saying, I don't know who starts for them that starts for us besides BJ.
right,
So
but they're the closest thing to us from a talent standpoint in the conference.
I think, I don't know, man. I mean, from a recruiting star standpoint, I agree. From a guys that'll get drafted, I don't know if they're more talented than Iowa State. Iowa State probably has like 10 dudes on that team that are going to get drafted this year.
sure, they're not going to get drafted high. If I was,
Yeah, but they're still going to get drafted. So,
if those guys were that good, they wouldn't be here still. They would have gone to the draft last.
well, we just Chris Olave. Chris
I'm
Olave.
out on Iowa State.
So I guess
I think
my other
Iowa State's
question,
going to. Go ahead.
how flat is Nebraska?
How flat is Nebraska?
Yeah, like I mean,
Like after we play them, and
yeah, they're
steamroll
going to
them,
get flattened, but
Yeah.
like, give me
I would
some
say
measurements.
they're going to be as flat as the eastern part of the state, not the west, where all the bluffs are. It's going to be the corn part.
The corn.
So,
That's good. They can go and find some walk-ons there
yeah.
and put them in their nutritional program.
The Tom Osborne nutritional program. Yeah.
All right.
I think, I think that game could maybe be kind of interesting for like a quarter. And then I think they're just going to get their as soon as they start having to like rotate dudes, they're just going to get, like you said, they're going to get flat. So, I don't know what the line is. There an early? I'm sure there's an early line on that thing. I would bet I bet we win by 4 touchdowns. If I were to guess.
I like it.
I mean, they suck, and then they lost their best player to Kentucky. So
Guys, it's like less than. We're almost there.
we get to watch Nebraska in 2 weeks against Illinois. So Burt versus Corn.
Great.
So
We will not be doing a podcast of here.
No.
I will watch every second of that game. The Burt Bowl.
Cool. Anything
Yeah. Okay. There it is, folks. We previewed OU football. We gave you stories to care about. And that's what I needed. I hope it's what you needed. And now we're going to go win a national championship and be the best OU football team of this decade, maybe of my lifetime. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on the Google Podcast Store. Find us on Spotify. Find us on YouTube. Find us on Amazon Podcasts. Find us where you get your podcasts. We'll be there. Follow us on Twitter at @Perd_Hapley and @RWMaxi. And we'll see you later.